everybody, it's day 31 of SQUATCHMAS, and wow, 31 days of videos, now I can sleep. Today's video will feature a newsletter called Bigfoot Bulletin, and the date is December 31st, 1969, and it really illustrates the commitment by some researchers writing a newsletter even on New Year's Eve. And the newsletter was created by George Haas. Haas was born in 1906 and passed away in 1978. He was from Oakland, California, and one of the members of the Bay Area group of Bigfoot investigators. He started the newsletter in 1969, January 2nd to be exact, and its last issue was issue number 26, which was the April, May, June issue of 1971. Bigfoot Bulletin was definitely one of the very first newsletters. Without question, it was definitely the most popular and circulated of the newsletters for its time. Let's get right into it. This is Bigfoot Bulletin number 12, dated December 31st, 1969. As you can see on the screen, the name George F. Haas, 5309 College Avenue, Oakland, California, 94618. Phone number unlisted. Don't call this number because it'll be someone else's number now. We have a report from Oroville, California by Bill Short. Roger Patterson and Dennis Jensen are still encamped at Mr. Stickley's place, atop Table Mountain, according to reports, but they haven't contacted me in 2 weeks. They had hoped to bring in a one-man gyrocopter to use in their search. Mr. Stickley told a local police agency that they were now using the copter, so I assume their plans are going well. Some of the ranchers in that area have made recent reports about cattle being stampeded through fences without apparent reason. Patterson was enthusiastic about it, but there's been nothing to my knowledge aside from the extensive holes ripped in the barbed wire to pin it on a Sasquatch. One landowner told me he thought it might be a pack of wild dogs. He was organizing an early morning dog hunt, but admitted that he had never seen anything like it. I just phoned Wes Strang on Lawn Bar Road, Oroville, and talked to his wife, Laura. Dennis Jensen mentioned that Strang had seen a Bigfoot some time ago. The following is a report on my conversation with Mrs. Strang. At approximately 5:30 p.m. on Halloween night, Wes saw a big monkey or ape with hair all over it. It was hunched over, squatted down, with its front paws up to its face. Wes was near his barn, looking across a berry patch toward the creek. It just sat there looking at Wes, and he, Wes, came back to the house. When he went back, it was gone. Mrs. Strang had heard my story on KPAY about Patterson's expedition and a reward he was offering for information. She called Stickley's and told of the sighting. The two men, Patterson and Jensen, came over. They couldn't find any tracks. There were 2 fence posts pulled up and our 2 horses got out. Those are quotes from Mrs. Strang, just told me on the phone. She also mentioned the cattle stampeding and said some tracks were found at Duansing's on Cherokee Road. I'll check that later. She also noted that her dogs have been acting strangely lately. Bill Short, Oroville, California, November 30, 1969. Recent publications of interest. More strange unsolved mysteries. And the details are given there. And finally, Fate magazine, January 1970. It mentions an article. Do you believe wild monkeys in Tennessee? And there's an announcement of a coming article on Russian research on the abominable snowman. Next page. Page 2. There's a report from Bossburg, Washington. On day 13 of SQUATCHMAS, I actually read the full report provided by Renee DeHinden. This is more of a summary here. I'll read it for your interest. Report from Bossburg, Washington. Renee DeHinden, the veteran Sasquatch hunter from BC, Canada, has sent us a long, detailed report from Bossburg, Washington, where he is currently investigating track sightings. The first tracks were found in that area on November 24 by Ivan Marks and Joe Rhodes at a garbage dump near the intersection of Highway 25 and Williams Lake Road. DeHinden, who had been investigating the Big Horn Dam sighting in Alberta, Canada, immediately came down to Bossburg. Later, he was joined by Roger Patterson and Dennis Jensen, who moved all their equipment up from Oroville, California. On Saturday morning, December 13, 1969, DeHinden and Ivan Marks, a professional hunting guide of Bossburg, found 1,089 footprints by actual count. They were in 3 to 4 inches of snow and a light rain was falling. They were apparently made by the same creature that made the earlier tracks, since the right foot appeared to be curiously malformed, with the third toe missing. 2 bumps on the side, and with, as Dehinden says, the little toe sticking out at a sharp angle. The whole foot curved outward. The left footprint measured 17.5 inches long, 6.5 inches across the ball, with a 5.25 inch heel. The right footprint measured 16.5 inches long, 7 inches across the ball, 5.5 inch heel. Length of stride was from 43 to 57 inches, but many were shorter. The tracks began at the edge of the Columbia River, went along the railroad tracks, crossed the highway, and headed for the mountain, where they wandered around in a bushy area. The tracks then led back across the flat and the highway to the edge of the river, where the creature apparently slid on its feet down a steep bank into the river again. Dehinden says tracks were also found about a mile up and across the river by a border patrolman. When we got there, they were badly washed out by rain. At 4 points in its wanderings, the creature stepped over a 43-inch high barbed wire fence. At the last crossing, 8 hairs were collected, which Dehinden describes as thick and heavy and black. 2 were about 3 inches long, and the rest were shorter and broken off. They are now in Edmonton, being examined. At one point on the trail of tracks, Dehinden says, "We found where something urinated. Found 2 tracks close together right there. If the tracks are real, this thing did it. Snow was discolored around. Hole of urine did not go all the way through snow." Dehinden adds, "I made a bad mistake in not collecting the urine, but we were so busy filming and looking at the tracks, and we did not have anything to put it in, so I lost it. I sure regret it." Dehinden says, "This is the first time I have seen tracks in snow, and I must say this was the most impressive set of tracks I have ever seen. I looked at this line of tracks 7 times and did not find any indication of fake. Also, I saw toe movements, or what I think were toe movements." The tracks were viewed by more than 100 people, including residents of the area, reporters from the local papers, members of the Border Patrol, the Highway Patrol, and the Sheriff from Northport. Dehinden says they were much impressed. The editor wishes to thank all those who sent in clippings on the Bossberg case. Many papers printed articles, too many to list here. Special credit must go to Renee Dehinden, Dick Grover, Richard Tierney, Warren Scott, Nick Carter, Ann Schwalen, and many others for keeping us informed. On page 3, there is a report from Oroville by Warren Thompson. I'll let you read through that at your leisure, so feel free to pause the video here so you can read that. Should be fairly clear to see. There's also changes of addresses at the bottom there. Notice some names: Jim McLaren, who is still alive and well, Bob Betts, Dick Frey, Ben E. Foster, and Eldon Brackett. Page 3 concludes with a hilarious quote of sorts. "In dealing with an angry Bigfoot, Lucius Farish advises, smother him in heel dust." Hilarious. And turning to page 4, we see other publications of interest: Mammals of the Pacific States and Fur Bearers of California. These deal with animal scat and animal tracks/prints. There's also a few newspaper articles from the Advance. That was John Green's newspaper in Agassiz. The first one is Disney Studios Sea Monster Movie and Sasquatch Seen Near Lytton. That's in British Columbia. There's also a little cartoon there that you can see, and something on the book The Long Walk. There's also a personal announcement with Bob Betts. Again, I'll let you pause the video and you can read this at your leisure. Page 5, which is the last page of this newsletter, there's a photo of Renee Dehinden with his eyes closed, unfortunately, and he's holding the Bossberg Cripplefoot cast. And there's a blurb there underneath, as well as there is an article taken from John Green's Advance newspaper, Sasquatch Book Taken East, and some other notes there as well. And the last thing is a note about the Bigfoot Bulletin. I'll read that. The Bigfoot Bulletin is a private newsletter, circulation limited to those actively engaged in research on the Bigfoot/Sasquatch mystery, sent free in exchange for news and information. Items for the next issue should reach the editor by the 25th of the month. And editor Haas finishes off with, "Happy New Year, Bigfoot, wherever you are." There you go, 52 years to the day, 1969, December 31st, New Year's Eve. And on that note, I want to thank everyone for watching, viewing, listening, commenting, and subscribing to the Sasquatch Archives channel and the last 31 days of SQUATCHMAS. I hope you enjoyed it, and Happy New Year. Here's hoping that 2022 is a lot easier of a year in the past couple of years. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Here's wishing each and every one of you a wonderful holiday season. Merry Squatchmas, everyone! Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments. Stay well, stay safe.